And don't just respond to what the media tells you is an issue. The media will never tell you that the Western society is creating 20% of women to be raped, because then where can you direct your anger towards? Only towards the system that you've been told is the perfect system to live in. And it's clearly not. But they can't have you challenge the system you live in, because it's not profitable for you to want to change the system, which is providing people the power to control your media, the power to have you respond to the issues they want you to respond to. I very simply just want humans to go within, on their own, in peace and quiet, in nature, and respond to the issues that appall them, not the ones that the media tell them to be appalled by. Be appalled by rape, by migrants. Please do. It would be an inhuman planet if people weren't. But also be appalled by the other things. Be appalled by the fact 20% of women are raped or attempted rape in Western society without migrant problems, and that the media doesn't report on that, because then it has to admit that the system it's telling you is the perfect system is a mess. And it's a mess because humans are not disciplined, because those at the top profit from you not being disciplined and suppressing the information that would allow for everyone to be disciplined and attuned. So hey guys, so I've been wanting to make one last video in relation to the last video when I spoke about immigration, and I just haven't had time to do it, so I'm recording this quick one now because it will appear I'm never going to get time to actually stand and make one properly. So I've took a moment now while it's late at night and nothing's happening, and I just want to clarify some things, because I think a lot of people miss the point of what I was trying to say. So I want to make something clear. I am a father of Christian and Muslim children, and the Muslim religion is filled with many a beautiful and loving person, but it's also filled with many an animal-minded pig of a human who want to rape women and want to attack women or want to stone women or want to kill women. However, within the other religion there are also those problems. These do exist. Now, I don't condone any form of violence. I don't condone any kind of small-mindedness, and I especially don't condone it in the name of God. So those following an Islamic faith who think they have some betterment because they're male over a female, to me, they are nothing. They need educating. However God wishes to pass that judgment or education upon them, let it be. I don't know what's best for them, but they need educating, and they are ignorant animals who don't deserve to call themselves servants of God. They just don't deserve it. And that goes for all religions where men behave in such a way. When men behave in such a subhuman way, they need to seek God and ask for His forgiveness. Now, today is Eid, and there's been many a person who I love and admire are celebrating the end of Ramadan, and they are kind, loving people. I'm in a country which is split down the middle, and the Islamic faith and the Christian faith are both a huge part of life here, and today Christians celebrate it with Muslims alike, because it's difficult sometimes to have such religious divide when the vast majority of the country are basically united under the common thing of survival and food and so on and so forth. But people were kind and loving, no one was hurting each other, and this is a mixed cultural country, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Jain, even other more pagan religions from the Maasai, etc. Now, the whole point of my other video, just to make it clear, was that you can't just blame everything on every person and say it's always a migrant problem. There are immigrants who are attacking women, and they are disgusting. And they are subhuman, and of course they should be allowed, they should be left. They should be left to the hands of the war-torn countries. If that's the behaviour they want to bring into a more developed part of the world, then indeed we need some sort of screening for immigration to get these people out, or some sort of rapid deportation for persons who are caught doing this. Do unto others. If you're not going to allow basic human rights for a female, then don't allow that person basic human rights until they learn. I am not all about completely open borders, but I'm also well aware that my children are Muslim. What if there was a war here and then they were deemed as a Muslim immigrant trying to seek asylum? They are innocent. They haven't done anything wrong. They haven't hurt anyone. They don't think bad things. They don't think derogative things about women. They just so happen to have been born into a certain religion is all. This is my problem with it. And my other problem, which I was trying to point out, is that there is a Islamic country, some of them, the minority of people in them behave like animals. And this happens in Western countries too, though. But for instance, mob stonings and beatings of people who they say allegedly burnt a Quran and stuff like, as if anyone's going to burn a Quran. But this is how small-minded humans can be. Not Muslim humans, but humans. Undisciplined humans are unruly animals. This is what happens. And it's difficult to be part of such a species at times for most of us who are not like that, who do have discipline. But there are these undeveloped, dark countries like that, where they still have a very aggressive form of punishment and a lack of human rights. Even here, I heard a story the other week of a thief who had been put inside car tyres and burnt alive. Undeveloped countries have a different way about them. And it's horrific, and it's awful, and it's dark. But it's a human problem. And the more civilized aspects of the West, they are much better. I admit that. They are much, much better. Even under the control that they are currently under, and the leaders that I despise for not allowing equality upon the planet as they should. They are better in the way that they produce the consciousness of people. And perhaps I'm not wise enough, and perhaps things like the pornography industry allow men to have a release so as they don't feel they need to rape and stuff like this. I don't know. Perhaps we are just such corrupt animals that that's the case, but I'm not like that. So I can only believe that other men cannot be like that. But they need discipline. And discipline for me came when I stopped indulging in the Western way of life. I found a lot of discipline. So in the West, statistically, as I mentioned in the other video, 1 in 2 women is sexually assaulted. That's just sexual assault. I say just. However that is deemed in the law. It could be in proper behaviour or touching, etc. Not rape. But when it comes to rape, full-blown rape, 20% of women are raped or have attempted rape upon them in Western society. That's without immigrants doing it. The point of my last video, for all it came from a bad energy because I was frustrated by some of the things people had said to me about Muslims, for all I didn't mention the word Muslim in my last video. As I say, as a father of Muslim children, the energy that video came from was a different energy to me for normal. It was quite aggressive and angry, I was, actually. But when 20% of Western women are having raped or attempted rape upon them, it's about time people started fighting the real enemy. And the enemy is inside men and women, but predominantly I'm speaking of men here. The enemy is inside them. And this is the problem, that they're all looking outside to fight this enemy. To stop the bad in the world, but most of the bad exists inside each and every one of us. And it's evident. We don't live in a society where religion tells you it's okay to rape people. We say it's a terrible thing to rape people. But rape is often about sexual dominance over the victim by men who are too emasculine to express what they believe is masculinity. Now, we live in a society where 20% of women are already, without the immigrant problem going on, if you get your wish and you close borders, 20% of women are raped or have attempted rape upon them. But then we live in a society that gives the okay ahead to go ahead for pornography and stuff like that. And to go ahead for alcohol in a heavy way, which reduces inhibitions and has a huge percentage of the aspects of sexual assault and rape goes on during times of alcohol and drunken stupor. Most cases go on in domestic situations where men are not men because they don't love their partner. They just... they are small, so they need to feel big in the most improper of ways. And what makes them feel big makes them look small in the eyes of most of us. But my whole point of the last video was not to start about immigration. I'm with you guys. There are dark pockets of the Islamic religion and culture in places like Afghanistan, etc., where they beat people to death because they believe that they've done something wrong against God, which is completely against the God I know, that doesn't deserve to be on this earth. But at the same time, there are dark aspects of Christian persons as well that doesn't deserve to be on this earth. So I can't help but force people to say this is a human problem. And when it comes to things like sexual assault and attack and rape, it's a male human problem predominantly. Now, what are we going to do? Keep pointing fingers outside of ourselves, or address it and say, yeah, okay. Inside all of us, we have this strange part of us, this dark side of us. And all of us have it from time to time. All of us. It's just how it is with human nature. At some point in our lives, we'll be stimulated by something in an incorrect manner, unless you are very disciplined and at a higher level of perfection. But most humans in the West will have that, be it looking at someone in an inappropriate way or however it may come about. But the point is, what do we do about it? If we keep blaming everyone and only responding to the issues that were told are an issue on the media, this is what I was trying to get at then, we're never going to fix it. But if we stand still and admit right away that humans are massively flawed, and we need to discipline ourselves. And as both main religions in this argument have, as Jesus said, seek first the kingdom within, the kingdom of God is within you. In the Islamic faith it says to know Allah is to know yourself. If men and women go within and find God and discipline and become disciplined and in tune and right in the center of themselves and open up their hearts, then we can have a disciplined society, because they'll raise their children to learn those disciplines too. Instead of raising them on computer games and movies which are always about violence and sex and so on and so forth. Instead of raising them with media which we accept as okay, of half-naked women, which works up children into a sexual frenzy almost, young men I mean, in the West. And then release them upon the world. And then 20% of women in the West externally from the migrant problem, which is bringing in rapes, I know it is, and women are being assaulted by Muslim men who have this stupid dark belief system from certain pockets of the society, a small percentage of them, who believe that it's okay to rape women, etc. But it exists already, is my point. And the whole thing's a problem, not just the Muslim thing, but I see it as someone as a whole problem. Maybe I'm blessed enough because I don't live inside that society at the moment. I can look in, but I have lived in it. I have lived in it for over 27 years. And I know. But looking in now, I can clearly see that there's a human problem. I can see that humans are raping each other. Simple. Whatever reason they're giving for it, there's often not a clear-cut reason in the West for why 20% of women are sexually raped or have attempted rape upon them. There's no written word that says it's okay to do that in the religion. But perhaps society, if you replace Islamic religion with Western society, you might see that allowing people to have pornography free of charge blasted into their homes every day, because it's predominantly free on the internet at the moment. I don't know how an industry... I'll get onto that in a second, actually. It's an interesting point I have. But they have all these things which we accept as okay. People have the right to do this. And then we are creating citizens where 20% of them, women, are raped or attempted rape. Yes, there's no written word saying it, but there are clear pointers to say this is what's causing this. Our society is not disciplined enough, and men are forced into a state of animal nature, so they act out upon it. We are animals, but we can live to not be animals. Now, I'll finish with this. Let me say it this way. Religions have controlled humanity in a huge way for centuries. The religious teachings that are written by men, not by God, they're written by men. Some of it are divinely channeled, but you've got to admit over the hundreds of years men have written them and changed them to their benefit. These teachings have created people and governed people and controlled people for many, many years on both sides of the fence. Sometimes in positive ways, sometimes in very negative ways, like this concept of being able to rape Western women. That's a misconstrued, I presume, idea of what God would want you to do. Now, let's look at Western society and you have the Islamic faith saying that to young men so they think it's right for some bizarre, immoral, lack of abandoning all sense of moral human being status within them. They agree that this is okay because of some dark age writing. But let's look at the Western society and replace the concept of religion with the modern day things we've put in there. Now, the most important resource on the planet is how a human thinks. Oil, big industry, capitalism, all of this, land, it's not worth anything unless people buy into the idea it's worth something. The way a human thinks is the number one resource. It's the key resource on the planet. If a human behaves like an animal, the elite, who are wealthy and living a good life, can control them much easier. They can stimulate their five senses to sell things to make them buy in. Now, we've all seen the pyramid of the elite. And to be at the top of that pyramid, you need the lower down people buying into what you tell them to buy into, to elevate your way of life into that pristine, materially abundant way of life that they all adore at the top of that pyramid that these elitists adore. You've got to understand that the way humans think is a key resource to do that. It's the number one resource, or nothing works. So then you look at the fact in Western society that there are men who are indulging in these things like pornography. Now, pornography is supposed to be a profitable business, but most young men, I dare say over 80 or 90% of young men have used it at least once, and some use it regularly, daily. I was a Western male, I know how this works. I've been there. I don't use it anymore, but I've been there when I was a younger man. And it's free. So if the profit of these things, and it's free in a huge way, like it's not free just a little bit, there's hundreds of thousands of free websites out there. It's very rare that I know anyone who pays for it. Now, if it's such a profitable industry, what is the profit? If it's finance, how come there's so many free sites out there? But however, if your profit, if your goal is not money, if your profit is the way a person feels, if your trophy is how someone is going to think and behave, is the end product, then investing in free porn sites to put all over the website for those with electronics from the age of 12 who have smartphones onwards, to indulge in and behave in a lesser state which is more controllable, which creates a debt slave which will prop you up and keep your way of life of abundance going. It makes sense, if you're so immoral that you'll create wars and such to expand upon your power, that of course you're going to create things like free porn sites to expand your power. Just as these ancient morons who wrote that it's okay to attack and mistreat women did so, and claiming it was in the name of God. Now, I know God through experience, not through books. I know God through going within myself, which every teaching teaches you. And God's not about that. This is men, this is humans, and humans have a problem here. Now, until we stop blaming each other and admit that humans have a problem, then we can start looking at the system we live in. We can start creating a system where we discipline children from a young age to meditate, to go within, to find the morality of themselves, to understand the weaknesses of humans, Now at present, the elite are taught what the weaknesses of humans are when they are children, I guarantee it. Then by the time they get to an older status, they are well educated on how to control the masses. We should be taught from a childhood age our psychological flaws, our failings as human beings. We should be taught them using logic, science and knowledge. We should be doing that. And these teachings have been around for eons. But unfortunately now, the biggest business is how people think, and the most profitable way for Western people to think is in the state of an animal, because that's the most predictable way to have them. And then they'll buy into the material things you need them to buy into, become enslaved to it, which props you up in this amazing state of material abundance that these elitists have. Is it any different what is going on in that side of the Western system to what has gone into these men who are following a dated, ancient way of controlling them? I don't see a lot of difference. It's not written that it's okay to rape, but we're still in a society that creates 20% of the women being raped or attempted raped. Something's wrong with society. Now, if we can address that and find out what the problem of that is, my belief is that the problem of that lay in the central banking system, which is a profit and loss system. It lays in the secret elite who want to remain in profit at the top of the ladder. So to do that, they must have loss. But you could scrap that and make an equality system. And slowly but surely humanity will do that, because there are too many humans who believe it like I do. And eventually they'll get into places of power, or they'll live by example. And whether it happens in their lifetimes or in the lifetimes after theirs, or by their children, people can look and say, wow, look at that, it works. I'm building a community here, based on equality, where everyone shares in the work from top person to bottom person. I still have to follow the laws of Tanzania, of course, because I'm in Tanzania. But we can build a system that lives off the land, that's independent of capitalism, and that's not illegal. That's a way of life for developing countries, so as they are not strangled by central banks that the Rothschild dynasty owns and controls. And also they are not influenced by the media that dynasty owns and controls. That then frees up people to live in a way where they can go within and be disciplined. And they don't need to be fearful of that which the media tells them to fear. Because if you're going to be fearful of things like sexual assault, you really need to start looking closer to home. I agree. Some migrants are causing this problem. Stop them. But don't stop the innocent. Stop them somehow. But how do you find that out? The best way to do it is in the future to come, in the centuries to come, that we start creating humans from birth, from a young age, that are disciplined and don't want to carry out sexual assault and rape. I've got no doubt we'll always have dark humans who do that, who can't control themselves. But let them be punished. But at least we won't create masses of ignorant humans who are doing it. And this is my point, and my belief is that we will never fix the problem unless we own up as individuals and say, our behaviours are not good enough. If you're watching pornography, by all means be appalled by what the migrants are doing and causing rape. But if you want to stop fueling something in society that could cause the games, stop supporting that industry. If you're frustrated by the sexual assaults or the behaviour of people, for instance, when they have drank too much, then say, okay, then I'll go without because it's a drug that I've been told I can have from the elite, and then they go without, and then we've got much more rational people every weekend. This was my point. I'm not here to argue. I've got too much on my plate to stand in the argument of against immigration, closed borders, open borders. But I would never see innocent men, women and children left in a war-torn country that's been conquered by a financial system that is governing people who are too outside of themselves, too involved in alcohol and partying and all this stuff to understand that they're being governed, even because they don't sit still and look at it and work it out for themselves. They indulge in the entertainment the system gives them, which keeps the elite powerful and allows them to masquerade across the planet, conquering other countries, and in the meantime creating refugees, some innocent, some very nice people, and some not so nice people, just as we have all over the world. But I will always say that you should have to let migrants in from war-torn countries, But what maybe there needs to be stricter laws if any step out of line with dark age beliefs that don't belong in that society, such as the ability to rape women, which is just pathetic on every level. Then kick them out, send them back to the war-torn country, whatever has to be done. But please, guys, realise that my message is simple. If we go within ourselves, we seek God within, every single one of us. Don't wait for others to do it. Don't say their behaviour is worse than mine. All I do is go home and watch pornography. All I do is get drunk every weekend. No. Perfect yourselves, and then others can look to one another as an example of what we want here. Try and perfect yourselves. And don't just respond to what the media tells you is an issue. The media will never tell you that the Western society is creating 20% of women to be raped, because then where can you direct your anger towards? Only towards the system that you've been told is the perfect system to live in. And it's clearly not. But they can't have you challenge the system you live in, because it's not profitable for you to want to change the system, which is providing people the power to control your media, the power to have you respond to the issues they want you to respond to. I very simply just want humans to go within, on their own, in peace and quiet, in nature, and respond to the issues that appall them, not the ones that the media tell them to be appalled by. Be appalled by rape, by migrants. Please do. It would be an inhuman planet if people weren't. But also be appalled by the other things. Be appalled by the fact 20% of women are raped or attempted rape in Western society without migrant problems, and that the media doesn't report on that, because then it has to admit that the system it's telling you is the perfect system is a mess. And it's a mess because humans are not disciplined, because those at the top profit from you not being disciplined and suppressing the information that would allow for everyone to be disciplined and attuned. So, okay, that was all anyway. I'm off to bed. Much love, guys.